In 2019, Zaiwu stunned the Counter-Strike world as he landed himself at the #1 spot in his first full rookie year playing in the Tier 1 circuit. But even before he was playing in the top level by joining Vitality, people could already see it coming, especially Robs, who also broke through to the big stage by joining Mouse Calls when he previously was only an FPL regular, an invitational league where all the best players play. Robs landed himself in the top 20 spot in 2018, placing at 19th. But along with being recognized as the 19th best player in the world according to HLTV, they were also tasked to give a quote-unquote bold prediction, where the players are told to give one player that will be in the top as well one day. And that was when Robs decided to hand his to Zaiwu. So far, his prediction turned out to be bang on, as Zaiwu became one of the best Counter-Strike players of all time, and now they're also teammates in the Juggernaut squad that is Vitality. So for today, I thought it would be interesting to look at all the bold predictions from a particular year and see what they are or what they've become so far in their CS career. Originally, I wanted to do 2015 to make it a full decade, but this tradition only started being run regularly by HLTV back in 2016, so I decided to do that year instead. I will list it in order of least to most voted by the top 20 players, because there are a few players here who was predicted more than once. Without further ado, here are HLTV's top 20's bold predictions from 2016. Where are they now? Number 1, Valde, predicted by Guardian, plays for Trick Esport. Valdemar Bjorn Vangsa, or widely known in-game as Valde, is a Danish rifler and probably a name you will be familiar of if you regularly watch CS esports during the year 2018 to 2019, which arguably his prime years. Valde's first team registered in HLTV is Copenhagen Wolf, where only 2 weeks after he joined, the team ceased its operation and released the roster. Average days in esports, ladies and gentlemen. The roster then proceeded to continue playing together under the name X, where Valde impresses once more, beating the likes of Astralis in ESL Pro League back when it was still an actually 16-3, him leading in terms of numbers of kills. This performance catched the eyes of Heroic, who proceeded to sign the whole lineup, and for the level that Heroic was looking for, they were decent, as they managed to stay in the ESL Pro League after landing themselves in the relegation spot, which they escaped from by beating Rogue and kicking them out of the league instead. Seriously though, this league system was so good, I'm so sad it's no longer a thing now, at least not in Tier 1. Heroic failed to qualify for the Krakow Major in 2017, and during the off-season, Valde was poached by North, who at the time was a new org created by a football team, Copenhagen. He was at his best during his time on this roster, landing himself number 20 in HLTV's top 20 players of the year in 2018. He then also won 4 notable trophies at North, with DreamHack Masters Stockholm being one of the biggest upsets of all time as they managed to defeat Prime Astralis and their IGL MSL wins MVP for that event. During Valde's time at North, he was averaging a 1.12 rating and a 1.15 in 2018, which was his prime year. Then, in December 2019, the Red Bull-sponsored esports organization, and also 2 Dota 2 international winners, OG Esports, entered the Counter-Strike circuit, with their first roster consisting of Alexi B, NBK, Issa, Mantu, and Valde. They proceed to just be the placeholder team at most CS events, getting very mixed results. Although Valde himself wasn't really performing that badly, averaging a 1.11 ratings in all competition. But something was in need of changing, and so it did, with Valde getting replaced alongside Nico, the Danish one, to make space for Neofrag and Fiku. ENCE proceeded to push him from the bench, and they float in the Tier 2, Tier 1.5 scene, then proceed to get an insane run at the Rio Major in 2022, only faltering at the Legend stage and barely not qualifying into the playoffs. But hey, thankfully, it was the Rio Major, because the atmosphere during the Legend stage was practically more exciting anyways than the MTCs during the playoffs. In August 2023, TSM returned to Counter-Strike after previously owning the core of Astralis Golden Trio of Device, Dukree, and Zipex. There's really nothing to note of his time here on TSM, as they failed to qualify for anything really, except for qualifying to the Shanghai Major RMAs, where, you guessed it, they didn't qualify for the major. Valde's stats has also stagnated in the past year, as the convert from CSGO to CS2 seems to take a heavy toll on him. He is now at Trick Esports, a full Danish squad with him having a go as an in-game leader. Overall, a really good career, and he did end up getting a spot in the top 20s once, so I would say a good prediction by Guardian. Number 2, Taco, predicted by Fallen, free agent. This is nepotism at its finest. Epitasio Pessoa de Filho, or famously known as Taco, was already playing for Luminosity Gaming, joining them in November 2015, and they literally won a goddamn major that year when he was voted, beating Navi at Columbus and, of course, Coldzera hitting one of the most iconic clips in Counter-Strike's history. But oh well, since Fallen has decided to put him in his prediction, and the point of this video is focused on what they're up to now, I guess I can't complain. Taco won 2 other notable trophies besides the major with Luminosity, before in July 2016, SK announced that they have dropped the entire Danish roster and brought the Luminosity lineup, where Taco won a whopping 9 trophies, including another major, securing his status as a legend in Brazilian Counter-Strike. And then in April 2018, in an attempt of overthrowing Astralis, Liquid decided to bring Taco into their squad, which failed miserably, as they failed to pass them in the semis at the Face It London major in 2018. And out of 6 finals, Liquid lost all 6, with 5 of them were against Astralis. Mind you, this was only in a span of 8 months. Oh, and you're wondering, what about the other final that they didn't lose in against Astralis? Well, first of all, Astralis skipped that event as they rejected ESL's invite, and this happened.
Wants to try and hold off the rotations. Oscar's gone. Chris isn't. Op still in the picture. Op still very much in the round. Oh, Chris! He's found 3. It's down to a 2-on-2. Chris, can he close this with an ace? Oh my God! Chris, the Wolf of Wall Street gets an ace!
Oh, and it also spawned in this gold of a photo as Twist actually won the MVP award while losing the event. After his painful tenure at Liquid, MIBR bring him back, as the original core decided to play with him again when the Stewie and Tarek experiment didn't work out. And they also received mixed results in 2019 before they had just straight up horrible during the COVID era, even accusing an NA team of cheating against them as they brought their horde of fans to attack. Godsend, the Swedish organization decided to take a chance in Brazilian CS by bringing Taco in to become their IGL, with 4 young talents. And they successfully done the bare minimum by qualifying for Stockholm Major for that sticker money. But they failed to do anything in the event, losing 0-3, and then they also failed to qualify consecutively at Antwerp. The Orb decided to drop Taco and the rest of the squad and go back to their Swedish roots. After that, Taco joined a few more teams, including 00 Nation, Opano, and Tropa de Taco, which I'm pretty sure is his own team. But none of these lineups did any sort of damage in the international stage. And right now, Taco is 30 years old, without a team for over 3 months. So I think it's time to close the chapters of his career. But he is definitely one of the best players on this list. Number 3, Sparrow, predicted by Snacks, Rebels coach. The first dud from this list, Snacks actually predicted 2 players from his bold prediction, and this was one of the players he picked. Sparrow, or Kieros Siamalek. I apologize to any Polish people watching this. Anyways, already somewhat made a name for himself at the Polish CSC, qualifying for the first ever CSGO major, and also playing at G2 when they were still a Polish lineup. Just look at the state of that jersey, bro. My God. But besides that, the best achievement he got was winning a national event with Ego Esport. After almost a decade jumping to a Polish lineup to another though, he finally decides to hang his mouse and became a coach, doing so at David De Gea's CS team, Rebel Esports. Number 4, KNG, predicted by Fur, free agent. Another case of players being picked by their fellow countrymen, Vito Giuseppe, or his IGN, KNGV, is your average Brazilian player who played in multiple South American lineups but didn't really impact much in the international stage. Well, except that one time he was playing in the grand final of a major, whatever. Unfortunately, getting beat by the mighty sex god at the final, though. Another thing about him that was interesting was once the major ended, the lineup he played with, who played at Krakow's final, Immortals, actually got picked up by the organization co-owned by ex-Call of Duty pro and streamer, Nature, and also NBA team Cleveland Cavaliers. 100 Thieves.
We're permanently moving into the CSGO community, and we are teaming up with Kanji, Lucas, Henny, FNX, and Bit, and they are going to be representing us in 2018 and many years to come.
Counterlogic Gaming player Pujan FNS Meta made a tweet after losing against allegedly an Immortal squad with 3 players who are hungover. And then KNG proceeded to reply to that tweet, "You'll prove it, or I'll?" Yeah. Since then, though, KNG has played with the MIBR squad that consists of Fallen and company, and also similar to Taco, he has also played with squads like 00 Nation and Oplano as well, to name a few. However, with KNG currently 32 years old without a team, seems like he won't be getting any more actions in the pro scene. Number 5. Frozen, predicted by Magis. FaZe. One of the best current players in this list, David Frozen Krnansky, is a Slovakian player that honestly felt like he's been around the scene for however long, and that's because he has been. At only 12 years old, he was already playing on a local LAN tournaments in Slovakia and beating the best of the best there. And he eventually got himself into X-Status, which at the time was the best team from Slovakia. During his time there, he was actually prohibited to play the IEM Katowice closed qualifiers, as he was only 14 years old, and the rules makes it where you have to be 16 to play in IEM Katowice events, or ESL events in that matter. He played there for 2 years from age 13 to 15 before getting picked up by Mousesports during the rebuild with Carrigan, as he was practically dominating the Tier 2 scene at such a young age with X-Status, garnering a 1.24 rating in all competitions. He continued that form on Mousesports as well, carrying them along with Robs while winning lots of trophies, including ESL Pro League 18, where after they beat Astralis, we were given this legendary clip of Glaive. And also CS Summit versus G2, where, the Cassis can explain themselves.
With a coach!
Oh my
With a statue! I can't believe it!
Besides those 2 events, though, they also won 4 other notable trophies. But as Carrigan was poached back to FaZe again, both Robs and Frozen also followed suit, as he joined FaZe in December 2023. During his career, Frozen has reached the top 23 times, landing himself at number 17 in 2022, 12 in 2023, and the highest being 10th in 2024. Although at FaZe he has only won 1 event so far, he has gotten close multiple times, including being runners-up at the Shanghai Major, where FaZe loses to Team Spirit. A very decorative career, and at his current age of 22 years old, there's definitely still more to him. Amazing prediction by Magis, continued by another great one here. Number 6, Electronic, predicted by Simple. Virtus Pro. Ah, yes. The classic case of saying a player will be the next big thing and then picking them up afterwards. Denis Sharipov, or Electronic, was another young prodigy from Russia in the Tier 2 scene, playing in multiple CIS lineups before joining Flipside Tactics. His first ever big team he joined, led by Blade, who you may know is the current coach of Na'Vi. During his time at Flipside, he was clear of everyone else including his teammates, putting an average of 1.17 ratings as a rifler, also 1.16 and 1.14 respectively for both majors he attended with Flipside. These numbers of course sparked Na'Vi's interest, who decided to pick him up in November 2017, and he was a monster. 1.20 ratings in 2018 lands him at 4th place in the top 20. 2019 was also another amazing year for him, 1.21 average ratings. But this was also the year that Zyru broke into the Tier 1 scene, and the Krieg abusers, Allegiant Magus, also got above him, making him the number 6 best player. The next 2 years, he also got top 10 in the rankings, landing himself on number 5 and 7 respectively. But after the war broke out between Ukraine and Russia, the next chapters in his career, as Cloud9 unveiled the two of them to the new super team, it didn't work out. In fact, it went really badly, as Electronic failed to win anything during his short stint there, although his numbers are still doing alright, with a 1.11 average ratings. He then gets bought by Virtus Pro, where the true nightmares begin. 1.04 average ratings, and ever since he started being the IGL at VP, he has an average of 0.93 ratings. As he's only 26 right now, he can definitely turn things around still, but with how things have been since the switch to CS2, it's not looking likely. Still an amazing career though, of course, so props to Simple for voting him. Number 7, Draken, predicted by Device. Johnny Speeds. Considering he was a part of the winning roster of IEM Oakland 1675 or whatever year it was, it's surprising to see his name here. But William Sinden, otherwise known as Draken, was generally one of the most exciting op-talents back then. At 19, he first made a name for himself playing for Epsilon Esport, where he and a few more Swedish talents, who are also in this list, was doing pretty well for themselves, considering most of them were pretty much no-namers at the time. Draken himself was averaging a 1.13 rating against top 20 oppositions, and that caught the eye of NIP, as during that time, a lot of the Scandinavian talents have started to age out, so they were in need of new bloods. And so Draken joined the Ninjas and, well, he was meh. He made a name for himself for hitting the hard shots, but then missing the easy ones, making the new nickname 30-degree window, as he would miss any of the shot in this 30-degree window area. Honestly though, still one of the most creative nicknames the community has ever made. Well done everyone. He proceeded to join Fnatic a week after being put on the transfer list by NIP, and he completely shits the bed. Honestly, I even forgot he played for Fnatic City. He was so horrific there. Another org rises in the name of Red Reserve, who signed him shortly after he got benched in Fnatic. But it didn't last long, as many players were constantly getting swapped. And as there wasn't any attempt to fix it, Draken decided to terminate his contract. He joined NIP once more, and shit the bed yet again, with a 0.97 ratings in the 2 months that he played there. The next few rosters he played was either a Swedish mix made after a pug or international lineups that didn't really do much. So let's just say this is a dead prediction by Device. Number 8, Beastie, predicted by Spring. A joke answer. This is a joke answer by Scream, as Beastie was his friend, but he did play like a few qualifiers, but he was definitely not a pro. Next. Number 9, Rops, predicted by Nico and Dennis. Vitality. Oh yeah, I forgot he's also in this list. Anyway, sorry, but he clears everyone else in this list, unfortunately. One of the best CT anchor and T lurker in Counter-Strike right now, Rops made a name for himself originally at FACEIT. So good, in fact, many pros were sure that he was cheating or using some sort of software. FACEIT even had him fly out to their headquarters to see if he's actually clean. Like, imagine being so good they have to fly you out to see face-to-face if you're cheating or not. Like, that's so crazy. Anyways, Robin Rops, cool, is an Estonian player. And his first chance of playing in a team was actually Mousesports, as they took a chance at him after his impressive numbers in FPL. He was easily the best player on Mouse, although there was close contenders with the inclusion of the Finnish talent Sunny and 45-year-old talent from Czech Oscar. During his tenure at Mouse, he won 9 trophies with multiple generations of lineups, before finally in January 2022, FaZe unveiled Rops, making one of the strongest CS teams of all time, winning 10 trophies as well as a major. During his whole tenure playing in Tier 1, he has yet to drop from the top 20, getting 19th, 10th, 7th, 18th, 8th, 3rd, and the latest 18th, all respectively, from year 2018 until 2024. In the year that he got 3rd, he also won Koza of the Year presented by HLTV, solidifying him as one of the best players in the scene. Robs decided to leave FaZe on a free for Vitality after they failed to renew his contract. And with how Vitality looks right now, it seems like he will probably win a second major and maybe even start a Vitality era. Who knows? Number 10, Hobbit, predicted by Simple and Flamey.
Playing for 1 win.
Ah yes, both Simple and Flamey voting for Hobbit to be a breakout star when he's older than both. But of course, at this point, Hobbit was practically a no-namer from Kazakhstan, a country that never had a regular playing in the Tier 1 scene. Abai Kasinov made a name for himself playing for Tenki, a Kazakhstan squad, and he had an average KD of 1.21 in all competitions. During his time there, he earned himself a contract to Gambit, who at the time is in jeopardy as they managed to sign Zeus, ex-captain for Na'Vi but unable to find a rifler who could actually get them through to the Tier 1 scene. It was clear that his addition to the squad was an amazing choice, as Hobbit became a star the second he joined, getting 1.17 rating in the Atlanta Major where they finished 8th, their highest finish yet, and winning the Krakow Major a couple of months later.
I just say, Olaf Meister, I love you. And second, God help me, and I won major. Woo!
Although he didn't win the MVP award, he managed to put a respectable 1.13 in the whole competition. In his debut season at Tier 1, Hobbit earned himself a top 20 placement, getting number 11. He also won 3 trophies in that 2017 run with Zeus. However, seeing Zeus do so well with Gambit, Na'Vi realized that they had probably made a mistake and signed him back into the roster. And that completely killed the Gambit roster, as they slowly fell into Tier 2 level. Desperate for change, Hobbit was transfer listed, as 2 weeks beforehand, Gambit failed to go through the Challenger stage in the Major. They also placed dead last 3 events in a row. Hellraisers, yes, the eyebrow org, decided to take a chance on him. And the results was very mixed, where on his first event being ESL Pro League Season 8, Hellraisers actually finished at a respectable 5th place, with him getting a 1.13 rating. But after that, there wasn't anything to take note of, as they failed to get into the playoff stage at the Katowice Major, and Hobbit having a stinker of an event. After that, Windstrike signed him, but he didn't really do anything of note there as well. So let's just head straight to his resurgence when Gambit decided to take a chance on him again. But this time for their academy team, who at this point was actually doing better than their main team. Like, I am not joking, they were actually at one point ranked higher than the senior team. As Hobbit didn't really have much of a choice, he decided to take the deal, and he instantly made impact. Only 3 months after he joined the youngsters squad, Gambit finally promoted them to become the senior team. During this time, Hobbit finally got his old numbers back again, averaging a 1.18 in all competitions, and earning him number 6 in the world in 2021. 5 years since he last got his top 20 spot. During this time, Gambit also won 6 notable events. After seeing all of this, Cloud9, who hasn't had a CS roster for a year at that point, decides to take a swing and buy out the Gambit roster. And the results at Cloud9, as you know from later when Electronic joined, was mixed. Some may even say it's outright bad with the quality of players in the squad. So in April 2024, Hobbit was benched as Cloud9 looked to bounce back. As 3 months later in the bench, 1 win wins the battle of his buyout, and where he has been since. And so far, he's been doing well for himself, averaging a 1.13 KD, although all of his competition so far is below the top 30 teams. He had a great career, and the resurgence was also a beautiful story, but currently I don't think he's gonna get back into the Tier 1 scene anytime soon. Number 11, Phelps, predicted by Coldzera and Fur, playing for Red Canids. Another Brazilian talent, João Phelps Vasconcelos, certainly looked like the real deal by, at the time, best player in the world, namely Coldzera, as he made a name for himself at Immortals, averaging a 1.20 KD with the Brazilian lineup. In February 2017, a couple of months after Coldzera placed him as his bold prediction, Phelps was signed into the SK Gaming squad, where during his 8 months tenure at the team, he won 5 trophies with them. But then, After mixed results, which cost SK their number 1 in the world ranking taken, Phelps was left to rot on the bench for 4 months before NTC, an org made by the legendary 2-times major winner FNX, signed him, but they did not do any damage in the international circuit. Phelps played in a lot of Brazilian mix after that, before getting a chance to play for MIBR with the remaining core of the consecutive major winners, but he only lasted there for 6 months. Then, Boo Esports, the Indonesian organization, took a hit and signed him to play during the online era, where Phelps managed to get the sticker into the game. After that, he played on every South American lineup that still wants him, not getting any results, and his stats slowly pummeled down every year. Currently, he plays in Red Canids alongside Coldzera, the man who predicted him to become a star all those years ago. Number 12, Disco Doplin, predicted by Forrest and Get Right. Free agent.
Who?
I know, most people would probably say that, especially if you went deep into esports around this era, but Joakim Disco Doplin Gidetin was one of the hottest lurkers in the Swedish scene, was a part of the Epsilon squad earlier that Draken was on. Averaging a 1.15 KD and 1.20 impact rating earned him a contract to Fnatic. And oh boy was he bad. He played in only 4 events, including the Atlanta Major, which was his last event, where Fnatic reached the semifinals, yet he dropped a stinker 0.86 ratings. After his miserable 4 months at Fnatic, Godsend picked him up, and he recovered his numbers as the level of teams he played against also went down, but failing to qualify for either the Krakow and Boston Major made his future playing in the Tier 1 scene looking bleak. After his time with Godsend, Disco Doplin was signed by Red Reserves in June 2018, where he failed yet again to qualify for a single big event, and also failed to qualify for 2 majors. In February 2019, he terminated his contract with Red Reserves after he felt the org has breached his contract. And since then, he only played in a bunch of Swedish mix that didn't even get close to playing in any big events. Disco Doplin's last team was Galaxy Racer, and as his contract finishes in October 2021, he has not been seen in the pro circuit since. A very unfortunate story, but he was given a chance to play at Tier 1 and just stung the bed, unfortunately. Number 13, Body, predicted by Shox and Kenny S. 3D Max. This list is just going downhill, isn't it? Although Alexander Body Pianaro was already at G2 and both players who predicted him to be a star are his teammates. Body was at one point the most exciting talents coming from France in a long time. During this timeline, almost every CS talent coming from France are all experienced players coming from the CS source scene. His breakthrough year was him playing for LDLC, where he was averaging a 1.08 rating. Pretty good for a young rifler. G2 proceeds to sign him in April 2016, where he was He did, however, win 4 trophies with G2, including ESL Pro League Season 5, his best event as he dropped a 1.16 rating overall, and also a 1.36 rating in the final as the entry fragger. In March 2019, as Body's contract expires, G2 signed Amanek and let him go, making him a pre-agent. Body missed a year of pro play before he was signed once more by LDLC in June 2020, where he didn't really do much there. Then, he joined the unpaid French mix DBL Pony. One point was the biggest team in France, garnering them a huge following. They also had a good Twitter account, so that also helped a lot in getting them finally signed under Heat Esports. Heat was a solid Tier 1.5 team, balancing between being a Tier 2 and Tier 1. But mixed results and also the organization not paying them wages made the team crumble, and so Body took his next step on his career, joining Falcons. Yes, the Falcons, who only just entered the scene and they did absolutely nothing. Sure, Body had a 1.12 average ratings against all oppositions during his time there, but they also failed to qualify for the Paris Major, faltering in the RMR stage. They can't even win CCT events, for goodness sake. And so Falcons gave up with this lineup and started to sign old washed stars for a ridiculous amount of money instead. With Body being benched, he joined Fnatic, who at this point is a shadow of themselves, as they got embarrassed in the Shanghai Major, losing every match they played. And on the last chance to stay alive in the event, they lost to Rare Atom, a Chinese team ranked number 58 at the time. This match was the last match Buddy played with the Fnatic lineup, and so he was benched in January 2025, but he came back to the French mix to play with 3D Max, where he's been his best in a long time, averaging a 1.11 KD, and are also able to compete in the Tier 1 scene, so good for him. Number 14, Rez, predicted by Olofmeister, Kiabi, and Flusher, Gamer Legion. The only player in this list to be predicted by 3 players, Fredrik Sterner, otherwise known as Rez, was the hottest talent in Sweden. 1.15 KD in 2017 as an entry fragger before joining NIP. It was inevitable that he's gonna be a next big thing, right? Well, he did get his big money signing to NIP in June 2017. And in the same year, he won IAM Oakland 2017, or well, whatever that year was. He also got the MVP award. But after that, NIP failed to do anything remarkable. They failed to qualify for the Boston Major, but they managed to bounce back in the Faceit London Major, the 2018, qualifying for the Legend stage with a flawless record and beating Prime Astralis on the way to reach it in a 26-28 round fashion. Unfortunately, Rez performed horribly in the Legend stage, with his worst match losing to Na'Vi, the eventual runners-up for this major. The next major in Katowice was a bit better, as NIP cruised to the Challengers and Legend stage. But of course, they meet Astralis again in the quarterfinals, and no, it did not go like how it did in the previous major. Actually, it went really bad.
To at least take Glaive with him, but Rez, he's playing this one so slowly. He is waiting for as many terrorists to push past him as possible, but in doing so, he's baiting the rest of his teammates. Can he feasibly stop this from getting done? Oh, he's picked up 2, looking for a third, lands it onto the bench as well, can't get the 4th, as Mages does, but there's Forrest. I thought Rez had baited too hard, but he pulls it back.
Berlin was even worse, as age starts to show in the NIT squad and they finished dead last in their group. Then after COVID era, Stockholm wasn't any better, considering they got themselves the fives from Astralis to play for them, and only finishing in the quarters, with the consecutive majors for Riz, where he has a red KD ratio. But NIP still stick with him, and they constantly fail as they try to rebuild around him over and over again. So finally, in January 9th, 2025, Rez was acquired by Game Legion as NIP looked to rebuild their whole squad without him for the first time in 8 years. And so far, Rez has been on form, as currently he averages a 1.09 rating since joining Game Legion. As an HLTV user once said, the time we have on NIP doesn't count. And that makes all the bold predictions in this list. I hope you enjoy the video, and hopefully I am gonna upload more because this is probably gonna be my first video. So yeah, goodbye.